All right, so a pleasant good afternoon to everyone. Welcome. My name is Priscilla Liebert Calder. I am the event coordinator here at the NJSBDC Rutgers Newark. And we would like to, on behalf of Dr. Tenai Ndoro, we would love to welcome you to our webinar on NJ state certifications and private contracting. What a way to start the new year. This is our first webinar for 2022. And definitely over the holidays, a lot of people have made a lot of New Year's resolutions. Those who haven't declared on starting their business have pledged to grow their business. Definitely on top of that list was getting their business certified and eligible for those contracts that we've been hearing time and time again. That's being advertised. And so it's fitting that we start 2022 out with webinars dealing with contracting and certification. Our second webinar for today will deal with federal contracting. So for those who are joining us for this webinar, feel free to join us for our winning public federal contracts, which starts at 3 p.m. So we'll post that a little later in the chat, but we'll just get ahead on with today's presentation. So for those who are joining us, you may not be familiar with the SBDC, which stands for Small Business Development Centers. We are a resource center for the SBA, the Small Business Administration. And simply put, we help entrepreneurs and small businesses start and grow their businesses by providing business consulting and training services. We're one of 12 centers located across New Jersey. Each center is responsible for one or more counties. We service the residents and business owners of Essex County. We are hosted by the Rutgers Business School here in Newark, and we are funded through a partnership agreement between the SBA, Rutgers University, and the New Jersey Business Action Center. So like I said earlier, the goal of the SBDC is to provide you, the business owner or aspiring entrepreneur, with no cost business consulting services. This is where we match you with a consultant based on the area or expertise that you need help with. So that could be if you need help with starting your business for the first time. You need startup tips, resources. If you need help with marketing your product, whether traditional marketing or digital marketing, you need help with government contracting, you're entering the import and export field, you need help accessing capital. A lot of that has been happening between getting the EIDL, which just ended in December, or any grants or funding programs that are available because of COVID. If you are trying to build your business credit or work on your personal credit, if you need help with bringing a product to market in the food industry, or if you're trying to private label a product and you need help with sourcing suppliers from overseas, or if you simply need help because there's been a breakdown in your supply chain. Almost any topic you can think about, we have consultants with expertise in each of these areas that we can assign to you to help you either bridge a gap in your business or solve a problem or provide you with the resources to help you grow and scale your business. To take advantage of this assistance, you first need to visit our website at www.rnsbdc.com. That's www.rnsbdc.com. I will post it in the chat in a few. And at the top right-hand corner of our website, there's a button there that says Request Counseling. Once you click on that, you will fill out the form and you will tell us what you need help with. And within 24 to 48 hours, we will assign you to a consultant with expertise in the area in which you requested, and they will conduct a one-on-one session with you. Typically, once a session is done with you, you are given recommendations that you need to execute on before you're allowed follow-up sessions. So we want to see progression with your business. The other service that we provide is the training services, and that comes in the form of webinars and workshops, such as the one that you're attending here today. 2022, we've added a lot of new webinars. Many of our topics and webinars from last year have remained. And so we look forward to providing you with the training and the resources in these webinars and workshops. And by the way, over 95% of these are at no cost. So we encourage you to register and take advantage of these resources. The others are at a nominal fee. They have been discounted due to COVID. And so again, it's a great opportunity to take advantage of these no cost and low cost resources. Now onto today's workshop. We are expecting quite a few people for today's webinar. So unfortunately, we won't be enabling audio, but we ask that you post your questions in the chat or Q&A section, and we'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can when we get to the Q&A portion of today's presentation. Now, a copy of the slide presentation and the video replay would be sent out. So this year we have automated this process. So all we ask is that you complete the evaluation or the survey at the end of today's webinar. So if you do need a copy of the slide presentation and a link to the video replay when we upload it in a few hours, please take 5 minutes of your time to complete our survey on today's webinar. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. It helps us to improve our webinars, and it helps the presenters to know how they're doing and to enable them to bring you more content or more of what you need help with. So again, the link will come up at the end of today's presentation. If you happen to miss it or you're on the run, you do get an email with the link to that survey. And once you complete the survey, you would instantly receive the slide presentation along with the link to the video replay. We no longer send these out manually anymore. Okay, so on to today's presentation. Our speaker for today is Ginny Rock-Bailey. Ginny has been with the SBDC here at Rutgers for quite a number of years. She is the CEO of Rock-Bailey Enterprises, an HR firm here in New Jersey. And she is known as our queen of certification. She has helped a number of businesses. She has helped quite a number of businesses achieve their SBE, WBE, and minority business enterprise certifications. And so I'll let her introduce herself and get into details with today's workshop. So without further ado, Ginny, it's all yours.
Thanks a lot. I hope everybody can hear me. I'm very excited about today's presentation because, like Priscilla said, it's the first one of the year. And since I did the last one in 2021, there have been some major changes that I'm going to share with you. The certification process was so successful last year for us. So many businesses realized how being certified as a minority women-owned business or a minority woman business could actually increase their revenue, increase their ability to reach out or be found by vendors or businesses of interest who were looking for companies that had the service that they offered. What I'd like to do today is really divide the presentation into two areas. I want to heavily weigh on the new online process. It's not new, it's just the requests are new. And I want to make sure that you leave here knowing exactly what you will need to apply for that certification online. I also have to give attention to those who are still completing their application in a hard copy, because the state is accepting both. So I will mix a presentation with hard copy and online information, but we're going to close out with the online because that's what's popular. That is the most efficient way to get certified. And it's not immediate because there is some backlog because so many people are using it, but it does provide you with a way to track your application yourself. And for my clients, I do that for them. But it allows you, for those who are not eligible to be one of my clients by dint of where you're coming from, or choose to do it on your own, which I totally support, you want to make sure that you're able to look to see when you submitted the application and what the status is. And the portal will allow you to do that. So these are examples of some of the programs that we have in the state. We have the Small Business Enterprise Program, and the total number of, or the definition of small business for state certifications and registrations is 100 employees or less. So anyone who is in business should, number one, identify themselves as a full-time business person within their business, and they are eligible to apply for these programs. And why I emphasize that is because the eligibility requirements is that you're full-time. And when I go through with my clients how much time they put on their business, even if they moonlight in some other areas, it exceeds 40 hours. So you're full-time if you're working in your business by my definition and by the state's definition. So I want to make sure that as you apply for these programs, you identify yourself as full-time. And also when Priscilla mentioned those other opportunities like EIDL and PPE, it's you're full-time in your business because you've dedicated yourself to run your business. If you looked at the hours that you put into your business, it's more than full-time, so give yourself the credit for it. So the Small Business Enterprise, it's a registration. It was the most popular program at one point. It's up until mid-year 21. It was the most popular program for me because more clients were participating in the bidding process and bidding on contracts because of their SBE designation. And it's the only program in the state that will allow you to bid on contracts because the minority women business, women-owned business, and minority business certification is not in that position yet. We were, but due to a law case, we lost it. But there are diversity studies going on to prove the need to reenact that program so MWBEs, MBEs, and WBEs can also participate in the program. The SBE does not require financial information. And I think that's a big thing for a number of businesses. What you have to do is be registered with the state of New Jersey. And I harp on this in a way because so many businesses get their certificate of formation and forget to complete the rest of the application, which is your business. So many businesses get their certificate of formation, but forget to complete the business registration certificate, which stands in the way of them being certified and participating in the program. And I'm going to go into this a little further on because you'll see what I mean and the importance of it. But I think, just based on my experience and best practices, that when businesses look at those questions that are asked in the BRC app, they see that so many of them are not relevant to them. Like, are you in nicotine? Are you in litter, natural gas, those kinds of things that they say, well, it's not for me, I'm not going to apply. But invariably what happens is that when you apply for the program and the state is looking for your BRC, you'll get an error message that says that your EIN number does not match your name. And there could be a number of reasons for that. But in my experience, it's been because you've not fully registered your business. So this is a best practice note for you. Make sure that you have a business registration certificate before you participate in the program. The Minority Women-Owned Business Certification Program is our signature program in the state. And it's also the only program in the state that requires documents. And the best part about it for so many businesses now, and I'm going to go into this, is that the documents that you were required 9 months ago have been diminished. You don't have to require that many documents, but it's all based on your organizational structure. So corporations have to upload more documents than LLCs or LLPs, and sole proprietors have to upload the minimum amount of documents. But this is our signature program, and this is the one that gets the most activity because more vendors, institution, contractors of interest are going to ask you if you have your MWBE or MBE certification. So this is one that I'm going to spend a lot of time on. The veteran-owned business registration and the disabled veteran-owned business registration are programs, are segmented programs for veteran. For VOB, you just have to submit your DD-214. And for disabled veterans, you have to submit your a disability statement from VA indicating the percentage of your disability. What's interesting about all of these is that the contact information to apply is the same for each one of them. And I ask my clients to take note of that because that contact information is also the same or similar to other certifications that you may be interested in. So it's real important as you're going through this. It's not a maze anymore for me because I can help you. But as you're going through this process, what you want to do is limit the amount of redundancy that you have to develop in order to apply. Because once you reduce that redundancy, you can focus on the real meatier parts of the application. I also want to add, before we go any further on, I think it's January 20th, that I'll be hosting a workshop on how to complete the application. And my goal for the participants is for you to leave with your application completed at least 75%. So look for that notice from us about that full day workshop. So in the traditional sense, you can complete a hard copy application and it asks the basic questions. It goes into what your title is. And for these certifications with the state, your title is CEO or president if you're a corporation. It's managing member or managing partner if you're an LLC or an LLP. And if you're a sole proprietor, it's owner. So when we want to have our titles, like one I saw recently, which I thought was so cool, it was Director of Magic. You may want to call yourself Director of Magic, but if you're participating in these programs, you've got to fit into the institutional titles that the state recognizes. So, and on a hard copy, you don't have the luxury of a drop-down menu. Online, you'll have a drop-down menu, which will list all the titles that the state offers you. But if you know what your institutional structure is, you know that you're one of three. based on your structure. The hard copy application also, just like the online application, they're asking for your codes. What codes identify your organization? What national codes, what construction related codes, and what commodity codes? And sometimes it's overlooked of how significant these codes are, because as business owners, I'm a business owner, I am so focused on meeting that deadline and giving it to the client that I don't look at the engine of my company and what I need to move it. So on their application in regards to the codes, you look at your codes as primary. I recommend that you do this. You look at your codes as primary and secondary codes. Those primary codes recommend or refer to your primary services where you're generating your most revenue. Those secondary codes refer to sometimes one-off, or if you see that there's a secondary service that you offer, those codes should reflect that. But the first codes that you indicate should reflect your primary service, because that's how the auditors are looking at them. They're looking at if you're in general construction, but your specialty is hauling, then your codes, your first codes should be those codes that recommend hauling. Okay. For those who choose to do the traditional application, the benefits to them are a confidence in the information that you're submitting being seen by the auditor only. There's still this mystique about, and I mean, it's a mystique, and there's a lot of truth to it too. If your systems don't have the security or been had the cyber security audit that we all need, but there's a confidence in knowing that I complete this hard copy, I send it in, and that I know that the auditor and I are the only ones that see it. It's a preference also because in some areas of the application, you're allowed to expand on your bio, expand on what your company is about, as opposed to online. You only get 255 characters. You can't say a lot. And that's why I have some best practices on how to glean out those keywords, because that information is going into a directory called the New Jersey Savvy, which is a marketing directory that the state produces that lists every business that has been certified or registered. And that's where you want to be. You want to be in that directory so that when someone's looking for your services that may not be in a company in the state, because I know this as a fact, and I know that the auditors are often asked about a business, you want to make sure that the information that reflects your business actually reflects and says what you do. So there isn't a second or third thought about, well, maybe she meant. So you choose those words that reflect exactly what you do. And you glean it down to 255 characters. So there's not a lot of I think, I wish, I want. There's this is what we do. These are our services. That's it. Should be very succinct. But on the traditional side, those who want to expound about their business and how they started, it gives you the opportunity to do that. The traditional application also, in addition to the online, allows you and your company to be fast-tracked. So what does that mean? If you're on the verge of getting a contract or in competition with companies that don't have a certification rather, and you're right there, and the potential opportunity is saying, we really want someone that's certified, we can fast track that application to the top and have the auditor look at it, because they too want you to be certified and generate revenue. So, and whether a consultant does it for you or not, you can ask the auditor to fast track an application. Then what's required, what I've produced for my clients are letters from the opportunity, or if they've contacted me, I will write a letter on behalf of the client saying that I spoke to this opportunity, they wanted to know about the program. And, you know, in so many other words, just say, look, if they get this, they're going to get this. If they get this certification, they're going to get the opportunity. So the state is doing everything they can, to the auditors are doing everything they can to make sure that your business is seen, make sure that the documents that they're asking for are there. I don't really know of that many instances. I don't know of any instances where they've overlooked something. And I'm talking for hard copies, because I still have clients who submit those. So I go through them and make sure that all of the documents that are required are there. And if there's a change in the certificate of formation or a name change, I make sure that the original and that change is a part of it. So it eliminates the time the auditor has to take to do that kind of research. If they say that the date on the change is different than the effective date of the organization. So try to do as much as we can to make sure that you're seen in the best light, but more importantly, that you have all the documents that you need to get this certification. On the uniform side, and I don't want to miss anything. So yeah. So on the online uniform certification side, what I've done is I've given you information that I don't think I could have given you last year because it was a little bit gray. In terms of the documents, it was great for me because I wanted to make sure that I understood everything that you would need. So I went through and I've done many uniform online applications. And there was something missing before on the description online. You know, I'm smirking because sometimes I will tell the auditor, I think you need to change this or make it a little bit more explicit, right? But there was something missing on the online application, and they're not going to change it. But now that I know, I'm telling clients because it's perceived that you should know it, and most of my clients didn't. So we're going to go through this process. The benefits of the online application, obviously, are there are fewer documents that you have to submit. There's a faster turnaround because it's online. And once they get your employer identification number or their social security number, it's like everything opens up about your business. So they don't have to do that. They don't have to do that deep dive into things. Your business registration certificate is there, where when you submit a hard copy, they used to ask for a BRC, but now they don't. But your business registration certificate, your certificate of incorporation and formation, all the documents that they need are there. So that allows a faster turnaround. And a faster turnaround, I know that at the end of the year, it was like 5 weeks. They were behind about 5 weeks. And I know that my clients that I submitted in November, early November, are being seen now. And some have already received their certifications. So they're catching up. It's less time to complete. It's less time to complete because I think if I have had clients who have had all their documents together in a file, so as I asked for them, they could produce them. The holdup came when we had to look at codes, But in terms of the actual documents that the state was looking for or asking for, they were available. So all they had to do was upload them, send them to me. I looked at them. Or I said, if you've got this together, I don't have to look at it. But I knew that they had their documents together. So there was a faster turnaround. But when you have to look for things and you're online, you time out. You have to learn how to click on the side, going into that file to pull up that whatever document that you're missing. You have to learn how to kind of do that, or else you time out. You have to start all over again. So what I've advised my clients to do, and I've designed another application where both the SBE and the MWBE are all on one application, is I suggest that they complete the hard copy, have it to the right, and then apply online. Everything that the online portal is asking for is on the hard copy. The difference is that the online portal is divided into sections, similar but not the same as the sections on a hard copy application. But if you completed the hard copy, you know where that information is. It's also asking for information that you would not generally have on that application about your banking. It was before it asked about, give me a banking statement on the hard copy. And even on the online, they always asked about the name of the bank and a number. And at one point it was, what kind of account do you have? So you know the name, you know what kind of account you have, but you may not know the number. So I put that all on the application. So it does reduce the time that it takes to complete the application. But I have many of clients who have just gone on and just done it. They have a snag, I'll go on with them so I can see, where they're stuck. But overall, if you are in order, if your business information is in order, then you will be able to complete the application. And as I said, with the hard copy, we can fast track an online application as well. And you update that request along with your other documents. Another best practice with online is that you may not be required to submit all the documents online. If you're an LLC or an LLP, you don't have to submit articles of incorporation. You don't have to submit bylaws. There are things that you don't have to submit. But to move the program, you have to, it's been my experience that you have to check every box. So the program, and then it asks you, have you submitted all the documents? You say, yes, you can move to the next one. With the, another little snafu, even though it's not required, when you get to the small business enterprise part of the application, and it will ask you for 3 years of revenue, I revise my clients to put $100 in each one, put something in each year, but a year that you were in business. If you started your business last year, obviously it's not going to say 3 years. And so it should indicate the year that you started your business. If you started it in 2021, I think you can put it in that. Well, you can't because your taxes haven't been submitted yet. And remember, these are tax years. So if you started your business in 19, it would be 19 and 20, even if you applied in 21 today. But if you apply after taxes are due, you would have to give 21. And there are ways that you can not circumvent that, but explain why you don't have your taxes, or you can submit a letter from your accountant saying that no taxes are almost ready, or the most, I think, prevalent in terms of reasons why people don't have taxes for a given year is because they didn't make enough to submit. So you can write the letter, or our accountant can write the letter that during 2020, they did not make enough revenue to submit, but it doesn't mean that you're not eligible, because the state says an eligibility requirement is that you must generate revenue. It doesn't tell you how much. And what's not required now during this provisional period is examples of your profit and loss statement or balance sheet. I mean, for a lot of businesses, that's a good thing, because so many of them don't have them, haven't had them, have misconceptions of what's supposed to be on them. So during this online application period, your certification is good for 1 year. It's actually like the government is really looking at the business to see how solvent it is and what it's going to be like in a year. They didn't tell me that. This is what I envision, because they changed it from 3 years to 1 year. After that first year, like a year from today, you reapply, you're accepted, and it's a 3-year period. It's a 3-year acceptance. The SBE and veterans acceptances are still 3 years. And at the end of each year, you have to re-verify that your business is the same, that there have been some changes. But if you don't re-verify that those items that I mentioned, but mainly it's that there's been no major changes in your business, like an address change, or if it was a partnership and you lost a partner, those are major changes. You complete no changes and you submit it, and it's done online. And if you don't do it, then you lose your certification. Where you really feel it, I mean, you feel it with the SBE and VA, don't get me wrong, but where you really feel the loss of that is when you don't verify your MWBE, MBE, and WBE. And I want to indicate each one of them because I don't know what the audience is, because that means you have to start all over again. And even though it's not as daunting as it was, it's still time consuming and it can be avoided. Before I go any further, there is an app called Gov2Go, G-O-V number 2, Go. And that app will allow you not necessarily to stay on top of your certifications, but will allow you to stay on top of your annual reports. Because as it's more cost effective, because there's no fee to submit these applications right now. And from what I'm hearing, I don't know whether they're going to reenact a fee, but I don't know. I'm hoping that that's the case because I try to stay on top of all this for the client. $100 is $100. And if they're going to give it to us for free for a year, will it be more than $100 when you have to reapply? These are things that as business owners, we need to know. I haven't heard anything about increase in price or reactivating the price. But, and that's another reason why I'm trying to get so many businesses certified now, so you can have a chance to really look at what you submitted, what you need to work on in your business. But it's just really important that you understand that we take our business seriously, but I just never knew how serious the state took us completing these applications, being serious about your business. The state is very serious about our business owners, wants to up the numbers as much as they can, but also wants to make sure that you as the owner are responsible for the day-to-day operations of your business. They want to make sure that you do that, and you're going to attest to doing that. It's in an affidavit now, but you're going to attest online. But And they want to make sure that if you're in construction and you're in roofing, you know how to put a roof on. They're not interested in what the gender is. They want to make sure that you know how to put a roof on. You know what it takes. So if you're in air conditioning and you say that you have an HVAC certificate, they don't want you to say, well, I have somebody that comes in and does it. They want to make sure that you can provide the services that an HVAC client would need. So, and there are ways that you can provide that information to them, and that's for another time. But if you're in that position and don't have it, rest assured that there are ways that you can provide that information to the state. There are many ways that you can do it. So what, and this right here, no one's seen because I'm really not sure whether they, would want you to see, they meaning the state. In order to get a list of your provisional documents, you have, now this is online, it's all online. In order to get a listing of your provisional documents, you have to, of course, develop a username, password, and then you have to ask critical questions like like 4 first letters of your business and what is your EIN number. What has happened is that, I mentioned this to you earlier, that because your EIN number does not match the name of the business in the system, you can't move any further on the portal. So you're not privy to the provisional documents that you need to go forward. Why I put this in the program is because I found it as a motivating tool for my clients to know what was expected of them while we were doing the investigation to find out why they couldn't move forward. When I looked at clients who were stopped, I didn't know why, and I saw that they were becoming a little demotivated. I really don't need it. I felt that if they knew what the documents were and they started to prepare them for submission, then while they were going through that process, I could assist them in finding out what the problem was. So for those of you who have tried, and I'm going to put the URL that I use to get into the system so you don't have to go through the Division of Revenue and Treasury. It just goes right to the uniform application. I'm going to put it in the chat. For those of you who have gotten that error message and have called the number to find out what's wrong, you paid your taxes, you did your annual report, what could it be? What could it be? And some instances, it's not the name that the business was registered in, the full name. If you don't include an LLC in your, when you input your name, that could trigger it, and you are an LLC, but it could trigger it because it's asking for your full name. If you don't, if you have a different address, that's attached to that EIN number. I mean, there are all these little but big things that we have to stay on top of that could prevent you from moving to this page that will give you the provisional documents. And by definition of provisional, it's defined as those documents that will allow you eligibility to the certification for 1 year. Because once that year is over, there are a whole host of other documents that you're going to have to provide. Okay, so that's the termination provisional, is you're almost there. You're almost there. We got you in for a year, but you're almost there. We have to look at some other things, like your profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, your taxes, because they're not asking for any of those documents now. So I wanted to go through, I'm gonna check my time too, but I wanted to go through these documents with you So you know exactly what it is that you'll be asked for and what it is that based on your organizational structure you'll need. So, and unfortunately, I can't get to the questions right now. I will, but the names and addresses of the owner, partners, or shareholders as applicable, and their representative shares of ownership. What I prepare for the client is on an 8.5 by 11, even on their letterhead, I'll put owner, I'll put partner, I'll put shareholder, I put whatever they're asking for, and then I list them. And I put their home address because that's what they ask for when you complete the larger application. They don't want necessarily the business. I've given the home address and they've all been successful. The names and addresses of members of the board of directors in the case of a corporation. So you would give the name of those people. If you have a corporation, you would give the name and the address of those board members. That is the only case where I've done it is for corporations, not for LLCs or sole proprietors. Okay, even though an LLC is a corporation, it's not the same structure. So this is just for corporations. The names and addresses of the officers of the business. Now it sounds a little redundant, but there's a reason for this. The names and the addresses of the officers of the business. You may be the only officer. So that you again will give your name and your address. You don't want to assume that just because you gave it before, you don't have to give it again, because they will ask you for additional information. And if there's anything I don't want to happen to any of my clients or you, is for your application to be held up. I don't always recommend to give more than what's required, but I recommend that you give them what they ask for. Okay, so you're going to give them the addresses of the officers of the business, the number of shares of stock issued and outstanding in the case of corporations. So that would mean that you would have to have a stock ledger and you would have to have certificates of stock, and you get them in a kit, or you can get them online. Google has examples of them, and you just want to make sure that you have your stock ledger that matches the number on your stock, and that you have O1 and O2. Always give them 2 so they'll see it. And if you sold any stock, they will be able to know that you did it, because that certificate would be missing. Now, what I found really interesting too in doing this is that so many corporations that started, because we're all out here trying to make it, didn't know that they had shares of stock on their certificate of incorporation. So look at your certificate of incorporation and see how many shares of stock that somewhere you determined that you had. And so one client says, what can I do with what can I do with this stock? What can I do with this money? They're like 5 cents a piece. So it's not like we could do a lot, but you have them. So you want to make sure that you know it and you know that aspect of the business. So the articles of incorporation are exactly what they are, bylaws. What is not on the portal, and this is where I got a little caught up. If I don't see it, I don't submit it. We were supposed to look into the articles of a corporation and see that that also meant certificate of formation. I didn't see it. So I called the auditors and I said, look, I'm wondering about this. I have it. And they said, yes, certificate of formation should be there. So what I'm also suggesting is that if you completed an application or an LLC or an LLP and did not submit your certificate of formation, go back to the portal. If you didn't get an email or you didn't see an email, to see if they sent an email requesting additional information, because chances are it's a certificate of formation. Okay, so check and look. All partners should have partnership agreements. That should be uploaded, or joint venture agreements as applicable. And so many of my businesses were able to develop their own partnership agreements. And I asked them to look at a partnership agreement as if you were doing a will with someone, because that's how detailed this should be, because that's how serious this is. especially in 20, when we were doing partnership agreements and people were getting sick. Wanted to make sure that the administrative part and the operational part of the businesses were clearly delineated by the partners. If it's 50-50, then it was down the line. If it was 51-49, then clearly that one that had more interest in the business were responsible for bigger pieces of it. And this is going to dovetail another provisional document that they're asking for. So don't take the partnerships agreement lightly. I would get some online. I bought some agreements online, general agreements that I could use to recommend to the clients. So feel free to do that. Have a lawyer do it if you want. But if I had a lawyer do it, I would bring a template or an example of what I was looking at, so they wouldn't have to do it from scratch, because that's money. Not to say that we don't have it, but I'm trying to save it for you. Now, one of the things that they're asking for is a company's organizational chart. So most of my clients said, well, it's just me. I mean, I'm everything. Why do they want an organizational chart? And my position is this: it allows the state to see the organizational structure and reporting relationships, because in your partnership agreement, it speaks to who reports to whom or who has more. They know who has more invested because you indicate that, but you want to see it. They want to see the organization chart, so they make sure that your words represent the visuals. So for my solo entrepreneurs, I have them do a linear organizational chart. And instead of listing the names of fictitious employees, I have them list the names of departments that they're responsible for. They're all one. So I have them list accounting or finances. I have an administrator come off the line, the vertical line, that would report directly to them. And then I have them list not millions of departments, but several of departments that reveal how their organization is run. For some construction companies, I have one, she's so cool too. I have one that has an apprenticeship program. So she has the apprenticeship program down there. She has other kinds of trainings down there that she does. She has general contracting. Even though at the time you complete this application, you're doing everything, it is my hope that you will start to fill in some of those boxes with people, because you're generating revenue. So I believe that they're asking for this so they can confirm the vision that you have for your organization. And if it's not true, I think it's why you should do it. I know for my business, I have 1099s that I use. I use virtual assistants, and I also indicate the services that I provide to my clients. So when I hire, or if I choose to hire, I will indicate what these 1099s are doing and who they are. But my organizational structure gives you a really good example of what Rock Bailey is all about and what we do. So when you look at it, and when they look at it, they can also see, and they will see next year, how the revenue is being generated. They will be able to see it. And I think that's good for us. I think that's really good for us to be in a position where we can visualize our business and then make the necessary changes based on how you're operating. Because we all have our ebbs and flows, but to fully participate in these programs, because I'm just giving you a blueprint for how you become certified. The next blueprint is how you use it. And I think we'll have some time at the end for me to just give you some examples that I give my client. But if you can visualize your business, it will also give you the opportunity to talk about it in those terms as well. Because you've got to sell yourself. So I thought it was smart of them. I thought it was smart of the state to ask for this, because it makes you think about your business like a picture, as opposed to just, we're not making any money, or we haven't been able to make the money that we forecasted. And I think that's another plus. And so I'm just going to do a little commercial break on something else. Another way to highlight your business and to design a glorified or a bigger to-do list is to do a PowerPoint presentation on your business. And one of my contractors that I use for like my creatives, like my webpage, it's always good to have somebody else that you can talk to about certain things. They introduced something to me recently about a PowerPoint on Jen. This is where your business is. You can always go in and change it, but it's the visuals that allow me to just put that extra hour in, because I know I'm almost there. If I can raise that number, if I can consolidate based on a client need, then I feel as if I'm moving faster than where I might be moving. I mean, another best practice that I would want you to consider that is not, it's another personal, commercial break, not personal, is consider doing a capability statement for your business. It's not, I used to say it was a glorified business card, but it isn't. It has much more information about your business, like your NAICS code, your, if you have a mission, vision, value statement, you put that on your capability statement. You can put clients on, but it tells a bigger picture about your business than what a business card would do. And you can't put it all on the back of a business card. You can put your certifications or other organizations that you belong in, but it allows you to tell a picture about your business, to tell a story rather about your business, because that doesn't have to be glorified. It doesn't have to be zhuzhed up. It can be on, I was gonna say hard stock, but we're not doing that much networking anymore, one-on-one, but it can be on a, it can be pictured nicely on a document that speaks about your organization, because you're not going to give them the PowerPoint, because that's the details, that's the mechanics of your organization, but you would give them a capability statement. And some people feel they don't need it, but I find that when given a capability statement, the recipient so often is shocked if it's coming from a small business. They expect it from a larger business, I think, but they don't expect it. And I'm not generalizing. It's all based on my experience. They're not expecting it from a small business because they know what we're going through. So that's just a little best practice and commercial break on the organization chart and some other documents that you can produce to highlight your business. Another provisional document is an identification. Most of the businesses provide their driver's license because it satisfies two categories. It has your picture, and they can through a visual observation, they can determine your ethnicity or nationality, because it's definitely not asking for that, but they can determine it. But I have people who give me birth certificates, and I'm real candid about, based on the situation of the business, I'm real candid about having a discussion with a person to see what would be the best document to use for a variety of reasons. One, you may not have updated your address on your driver's license. And so therefore it's going to have an address in another town or another street. I don't want anything left open for the auditor to ask a question. I like them to go check, this is Jenny's check, this is Jenny's, I just want them to go down it and send you, yay, congratulations. That's what I want. A passport is also something that people have used. And other acceptable forms of ID, I have to see them. And I would definitely speak to the auditor about it. I think one of the biggest cases that I had was someone who was applying for minority certification. They were a citizen. They had papers, but they were born in Egypt. And Egypt is not one of the countries that's covered for minority, so we couldn't certify that person. And I was, it's not my call. This is a law, so we could only do an SBE for them. And there was another one where the applicant wanted to be African-American because one parent was, but because of natural disasters, insurrections, you name it, what was happening in the country, we weren't able to get a job birth certificate for them. And these are things that we have to think about. These are things as a consultant that I think about for my businesses. What is the best way to do this for you? So because one parent was Indian, he had to go with Asian, but he got the certification, as opposed to on the other side, we couldn't do that because we couldn't change his nationality. But these are things that we have to consider when you're applying. And these are also items that may take a little bit longer for you to get the certification, but staying in touch with the auditor will allow you to speak your truth. You may not always get the answer that you're looking for, but you want to go on record as speaking your truth. And the ultimate goal with the latter example I gave you was you have your certification. We can't do any more than that. I also think that if your documents are not ready, and on the provisional side, I've only had to do this once because they're not asking for that much. Or if the additional information that they're asking for may not be as easy to gather, I will talk with the client about rescinding their application and reapplying, because I don't want anyone to be rejected. Because even though it's a rejection, you apply again, there's just too much with the word rejection that the business owner carries. So I would rather have you remove your application. You can come back and do it again. We talk to the auditor about it. And 9 out of 10 times, I've never had him say, no, don't do it. But I think about you and what you need to do to move to the next step. And it may not be the right time, especially when there's been some personal situations or the business has suffered and you have to put more time on one. Whatever the reason is, I'm open to having that discussion with the client about this may not be the right time. And it doesn't mean that 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, we can't go back and reactivate it. But I'd rather have that done than you get a rejection, then you're not accepted. Because you have to declare that when you apply, and sometimes that's confusing. But I know in some instances where that has been able to talk to the client about, you really need to get a certificate in this. You say you do it, but you don't have any certificate. And YouTube and professional organizations, developers, construction companies have been very helpful in directing us to professional development or technical assistance in that area that rendered a certificate. I know in one case, they took an OSHA class online and got a certificate because it was 6 hours. And that's what they really needed to like push them over the finish line. And they were able to get the certificate. So you want to make sure that you work with someone that is going to be knowledgeable and has your best interest at heart. Not saying that they're anyone who isn't, but you have to deduce everything that that is beneficial for you and how this certification is going to help you move your revenue needle before you say, I think I want to go forward with it. Because I'm not going to make that decision for you. I'm going to provide as much information as I can for you to make any decision. But we don't make that decision for you. We serve as a listener to some degree and have you chart the advantages and disadvantages of even doing this. Some clients have gotten involved in getting their certifications and decided, you know what, I don't know if I want this, or I may not need it. I may not need it with what I'm doing. We look at the pros and cons of I may not need it, and then we allow them to make the decision. And then others, while looking at their codes, realize that, I can start another little business by a side hustle that I had under my business. Example, he was a general contractor, got a contract with a bank. So he had a group of homes, a development that he was responsible for. He went in there to do lawn care. And then the bank said, hey, could you clean the property up a little bit more and wash the windows? He said, sure, I could. Before you knew it, he was replacing things. He was bringing other people on to help him meet the demands of his client. So you can change your codes. And I recommend that you do it by calling the auditor. If you see that your revenue is increasing in an area that may have been third in line, and now it's up to 2, or it maybe has surpassed what your initial preference, your priority was, you can change your codes. And that's why it's also very interesting and very important when you fill out your registration, your business registration, and it asks for NAICS codes. What's happened is a lot of accountants have filled them out, or LegalZoom has filled them out, or a third party has filled them out. And then when I look at them, I'm like, I didn't even know you did it. I didn't even know you did that. But there it is on your business registration form, on your NJ Reg, your application. So you want to be really, really specific and focused about the priority codes that you identify for your business. And when you're not, or not when you're not, when you haven't had the opportunity to change the codes or update the codes, be in a position where you can tie that service into what you're doing now. So if you're a general contractor and you only did hauling, and now you're taking care of properties internally and externally, talk to the potential opportunity about how your services have grown, so they'll know. And you really see that in the construction codes that you have to complete. So the final provisional document, and I put it in caps because not caps, but a larger font, is because before it was an attestation statement where you attested that everything that you were submitting was the truth to the best of your knowledge, and it had to be notarized. Now the affidavit is saying that you're certifying that you are a minority business, a minority women-owned business, or a women-owned business as defined by this clause in the law. So I have my client complete an affidavit. I, Jenny Rock Bailey, certify that Rock Bailey Enterprises is a minority women-owned business as it appears in this application or as defined by this. No, the state didn't say do that. It just says, this is what your affidavit should say. But when you do it, the reader looks at it and says, well, they clearly understand what this means and that they are not perpetrating as a front for another business. That's what they're really looking for. If you're a woman and you're saying that you're the head of a construction company and you really aren't, you can't even spell construction, let alone do any of it. This is where they get you. Besides the other parts of the audit, this is where, they have an opportunity to say, I'm sorry, you falsified, and you don't want to do it. I did a presentation at a bank and a woman said, a contractor is looking, she was in real estate. And she said, a contractor has asked me if I would be his front for a construction company. And she said, I'm thinking about it. And I said, don't tell me. Don't tell me, because I don't want to know that. But the penalties are so high once you're found out. And who wants that? It's not necessary. Yeah, it's not necessary. Bring a partner on. If you're looking at, wanting to have a woman-owned business, and bring a partner on, make them 49%. They'd have to be 51%, or it'd have to be 50-50. And I've had businesses that have done that. They've come and they said, it's just me. My wife is a part of it, but I don't know if she wants to be a part of the business or not. And then I talk about how the many advantages it is to have your wife a part of the business. And then they change that in a hurry. And then she's 51%, just 51% ownership. So this online affidavit is key. And what I want to share with you, and I guess I really want to go back. Internet addresses. I want to go back because these documents are the addresses, owners and partners, etc. That's for everyone. When it talks about board of directors and it doesn't indicate corporations, that's for, and it indicates corporations, that's for corporations, I'm sorry. If you're an LLC, which is most of my clients, there are, let me make sure I'm right on this, there are basically 5 documents that you have to upload. That's your ownership statement, that's your identification, that's your, that you have to update upload your organizational chart, or, and your certificate of formation. Nothing else. Just 5 things that you have to upload. So when people say, oh, Jen, it's so much, 5 documents. And if you send them to me, I have them, so I can send them back to you. Corporations have to do them all. Sole proprietors have to do, sole proprietors, their business isn't necessarily registered with the state. So they're updating the ownership, they're updating the identification and the organizational chart, probably, and the affidavit. So this is a great time if you're in the state of New Jersey or coming to New Jersey open to a business. This is really a good time to do this because it's not requiring those other documents, and it gives you an opportunity to really market this certification and really participate in whatever opportunities that you can garner from it, and to use that NJ Savvy marketing directory as much as possible, because you can go online and get that as well. And then I will go, I obviously I can go in more detail at the workshop because I'll have those things with you. For the webinar, I just really wanted to make sure that you understand the significance of the provisional documents and how few of them you had to upload. The other piece is the codes. and you have to have one code for each section. So you'd have to have one national, one construction, and one an IGP. But I recommend that you have as many as the state will allow. So that's 6 for NAIC, the national, 12 for construction and commodity. If you can't find all 12, we're not going to make them up. But I just think that if you're going to start on this, that one of the other little best practices for you, since you're not familiar with the codes, is to find your code by using action words to describe your business. So I have a client that has wonderful baskets. So we use baskets, we use packages, we use gifts, so we could find the right code for her. And so often there's one code that will indicate a number of, these services, but it took us time. I have another client, I know he's not on here, but he's in the chocolate business. And we were looking at, and I never knew you could do so much with chocolate, but we were looking for those codes that really helped him identify how people use, how businesses use chocolate. So then we went through this whole, well, how do you use it? And what else is it? It's in food, it's in helped. If you use, if you're creative enough to use that. So I'm just giving you some general tips. Confirm your companies are registered. I cannot say that enough. As a matter of fact, I ask my clients before we even start to give me your EIN number and your address so I can go online and see if we're going to have any challenges before we start it. Confirm the official name of the company. And another way to do that is that you can go in and you can do a search on your business identity to the Division of Revenue and Treasury, put your name in. You can do it by your identity number or your business name and see what pops up. Identify your companies that are registered by third parties. You have to be really careful because if they're registered by a third party, because what happens is they often don't complete the registration, and it's not a negative, it's a fact. They don't often complete the whole registration, so you can come back to them and they can finish your BRC. I'm telling you that when you go to Division of Revenue to complete the registration for your company, whether you're changing your organizational structure or you're a new business, at the end of that section, it'll say, "You're not finished," or you want to make sure you get your BRC, because every time you change the structure of your company, you have to get a new business registration certificate. So if you're a corporation, now you want an LLC, you have to have an LLC that fits that organizational structure. And this is really for the hard copy clients. Organize your documents prior to submission. Go down the list. It makes it so much easier for the reader, which is the auditor, if you have everything in order, because that's their checklist. So they don't want to look through everything, a deep dive, and respect them. Because I had a client who was drawing things. I was like, yeah, I'm not submitting that. You can't draw it and have like little prints on it. Respect the reader, because that also is I think it's a plus for the client. Have how to ID your code, those conversations, and you can have that conversation with someone you work with, if you have a partner, or have that conversation with people who've done your website or who are going to do your website. Review the application if it's a hard copy. Have another person double check your hard copy application. You can utilize a hard copy application guide. You can, and order online. All of your documents have got to be in a PDF or a JPEG. So once you get your certificate, once you upload your certification into your file, into your document, save it as a PDF. Save everything as a PDF. And I'm having problems with driver's license that are coming in as JPEGs. And I wasn't sure whether it was my system or whether it was just, or my system and the clients didn't coincide. So I told them to just take a picture and then send it to me. Then I'm able to save it. Another key is that for your codes, always have more codes. If you have 12 codes for construction and 12 for commodities, have 14, because they change. And it will tell you on the site when it was updated. So that may be an indication for you to say, well, maybe one of the codes that I had selected isn't available. That's why I always have 14 codes. And for NACE, I always have 7 codes or 8. So you don't have to stop. These are just best practices. Review your application for hard copy. And for hard copy, if you're out there, make a copy of everything, because the state, they're not on, but maybe they are, but they know this, they can lose a copy too. So make sure that you keep a copy of everything. And on your online and hard copy, make sure that you save as PDF all those documents. I save them in a separate file. So it's like certifications 20, 21, 22 on, so that you can go right to it and make a copy. Some people make a copy of everything. I'm one of those. I like paper, so I make a copy of everything. If you're going to send your hard copy overnight, remember you're getting this presentation. This is the address where you could send it overnight. If you send it by snail mail, it could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 weeks to get to the auditor. It may get to Trenton, but I may not get to the auditor right away. So I always build in the overnight fee. And this is the address and you will get it. Let's see if I have anything else. A pitch for us, we're the experts in so many things. So when in doubt, call our office or ask us if there's any way that we can assist you. I want to see if I can get to some questions. Go up to the top. Good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Just bear with me. Thank you for, oh, you're so welcome. I'm here to help. Really am. And I kind of love doing this. I think it dovetails with the HR practice, but I love doing it. How do you get the MWOB? That's what the Small Business Administration, SBA, has a WOB. Okay, so go to SBA. And unfortunately, I can't do that here. I can only do the states. Hello, everyone. Please note that the Essex County office is small. This is their plug. I saw him on. I'm happy he's here, and Happy New Year. Hello, I booked the consultation again. It seems my email is already on. Sign in. This is, yes, I saw that you had registered. I'll reach out to you. I will definitely reach out to you. Yes, to make total sense to help them with forecasting. Absolutely. I'm sorry, I know what you're talking about in terms of a PDF and to-dos, I hope. Greetings, had trouble logging in. Are you discussing MWB? This is Charles. I will try and find you if you weren't able to get on, okay? I'll ask our people to help, but I'll try and find you. But you should get a email with the presentation. The small Black-owned, no better women's managers or members. That's okay. You don't have to. I don't know what your business does a lot, but I can definitely reach out to you to get some more information. And I'm going to make a note because I do have names. Can the MWBE certification be done online? Absolutely. It can be done online. And I suggest that if you have all your documents, to do it that way because it's much more expeditious. What's the state marketplace called? It's NJ Savvy. It's NJ Savvy. What's my timeline? Because I don't want to go over to hers. I registered. I registered before, so it will not let me register again. Not really sure what that's about. But maybe I can look into that. I registered before. I completed all the steps and submitted for women minority certification, waiting for a couple for reply. Oh, I'm so glad it was, Sherry. I'm glad it was helpful. And call, you can call them to find out, hey, where's my application? They're very kind. They're busy, but they're very kind. John and Anna. Can you please describe the pros and cons for certifying in New Jersey versus federally? There are no pros and cons. You cannot have enough certifications as far as I'm concerned, but they shouldn't be the certificates that hang on your wall. You should have a plan for them. You should apply for your state certification and you should apply for federal, because federal is so much bigger than the state and your opportunities may be so much bigger. But we provide services across the country. I would definitely, even if you're a New Jersey-based business, we have federal opportunities in the state of New Jersey. You should apply federally, but be focused and be specific about what it is you want to do, because each federal agency duplicates its services. So if it's defense, and you've got uniforms, they have people have uniforms, right? They have people who need trainers. They have people, do you see where I'm going with this? So do your due diligence and then go through the site and apply. We have been certified. I can't read it all. I'm so sorry. And our company located in New York State. Can we certify? Yes, you can certify in New Jersey. And you can contact our office and I will tell you how to do that. How long consultation, how long does the process take? It depends. It depends on where they are. It can take a long time, but most of the time it's a good, I would say 3 to 4 weeks when things are, I don't even want to say normal. I don't even know what normal is, but sometimes it can take about 4 weeks. What I want to put in here to everybody is the portal that I use, www.njportal.com/.
Jeannie, I posted it for you.
Oh, you did? Oh, Priscilla, you're such a good egg. You're such a good egg. Thank you so much. But that's the site that I use. And then I don't have to go through taxes and all that other stuff with revenue. And I suggest that the clients go there because it's there. Have you ever applied before? No. Complete, go to the next step, do your username. And one thing is make sure that you keep your username and password in a place where you can find it. Don't just write it down when you're doing it, because you can get another one, but it's so much easier if you do that. That concludes my presentation. I thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me. And I think Priscilla went over some of you're so welcome. Priscilla went over some of our on the same page. I call them on the same page as opposed to housekeeping.
Yeah.
You'll get.
I'll repeat it for them, Jenny.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So thanks to everyone for taking the time out this afternoon to join our webinar presentation. If you joined us late, I'll repeat. I've posted in the chat, if you can quickly look at the chat, the link to register for free consultation with the SBDC, especially if you need help with getting these certifications. As an SBDC client, Ginny Rock-Bailey, she'll be able to assist you with your documentation and putting together everything you need to apply for the certification. And most of our clients find that the process with her is very smooth, it's very quick. And she does not recommend you to go for certification unless she knows that all your ducks are in a row. So do take advantage. It's no cost to you. I don't know if this is the case this year, but I do know that the fee, the $100 fee for the certification was waived. Ginny, is
Yes,
that still the same? Is that
yes, it
still?
is. Yeah, I
Okay,
spoke
good.
to
So
the auditor about it.
it's still the same. So at any point that may change. So we do ask, take advantage of it while that opportunity is available to you. I also posted, there is a full day workshop, well, half day workshop on January 20th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And on that workshop, Jeannie will actually go through these applications form by form, line by line. So you know what goes on, what goes into each section of the application. And we'll talk about how to then leverage these certification once you've had it. So many people have applied for it, but not executed or leverage them to create more opportunities for their business. So we'll talk about that more on the full day workshop. It is $50. It's usually those workshop is $100. It is discounted to $50. And again, you'll get the replay to the webinar along with the slides. But we also encourage you to just take advantage of the one-on-one. There's nothing better than having a one-on-one consultation. Also for today's workshop, for today's webinar, we do ask that you complete the survey. It's going to pop up in a few minutes once we end this webinar, sorry. If you can take 5 minutes out your time to complete the survey. Once you do that, automatically you would receive the slide presentation that you just saw, along with the link to the video replay. Do give us 24 hours to upload the video. So the link will be the same, but the video won't be available until about 24 hours when we edit it and upload it. So definitely, if you didn't have the time to complete that survey today, you'll get an email from us in about 24 hours. You can complete it then. Once you complete it, you'll get the slide presentation and the link to the video replay. And for those who are interested in federal contracting, we have a webinar coming up at 3 p.m. Winning Public Federal Contracts with Monica Randall. And I've posted the link to that. If you have not registered, feel free to register, and we'll love to see you on the next webinar starting at 3 p.m. So if there is no further questions, I would like to thank you for participating, and we look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Thanks to Ginny Rock-Bailey. We look forward to seeing you on the half-day workshop, and have a good afternoon, everyone.